They're absolutely right that media dietitian is not an official credential. There's no exam you take, no certification, no governing body that decides you've earned the title. Nobody sends you an award saying, "Congratulations, you can now use the title of media dietitian." But then I found myself thinking, we do this all the time. Nobody takes a test to become a food blogger or to call themselves a content creator or a wellness influencer or even a nutrition communicator. Those are not credentials. They're simply ways of describing the work that people do. And to me, that's exactly what media dietitian is. What concerns me isn't whether the title is official or not. What concerns me is that someone might hear that comment and think, well, I guess I'm not there yet. That's not me. And that's what I really want to push back on. Well, hey there. Welcome to Media Savvy, the podcast that gives you a behind-the-scenes look at what it takes to get noticed by media and become the go-to expert that they keep coming back to. I'll be sitting down with successful writers, producers, and entrepreneurs to learn the tools and tactics they use to build their reputation and in turn boost their business. I'm your host, Taub-Dix, and I've been working with top-tier media outlets for more than 30 years, anywhere from traditional print publications to online and social platforms. And I'm sharing my nutrition guidance without gimmicks. But you don't have to be a dietitian for this podcast to speak to you. Through my one-to-one conversations, you'll learn how to build a strategy to get your name in the news and establish yourself as an authority in your field, no matter what the industry. With Media Savvy, I'm on a mission to inspire, motivate, and empower you to have the confidence and tools you need to shine in the spotlight. Are you ready? Let's get Media Savvy. Well, hey there. Welcome to the Media Savvy podcast. I'm your host, Taub-Dix, and I'm so glad you're here because every once in a while, someone says something that kind of stays with you. You know what that's like? Well, not because you necessarily agree with it, but because you just can't quite stop thinking about it. That's what happened to me recently, and I couldn't wait to share it with you. I heard someone say, very matter-of-factly, there's no such thing as a media dietitian. They didn't say it to be mean. They weren't trying to discourage anyone. They just said it as though it were a fact, like it was science-based. Now, you know me, if the timing had been right, and it wasn't because the person was speaking on a stage, I probably would have gone up afterwards to ask them some questions or start a conversation, not because I wanted to argue, but because I would have wanted to understand what they meant. If you know me, I definitely would have been raising my hands in that room, but there wasn't really that kind of time. So instead, I found myself having the conversation in my own head. The more I thought about it, the more I realized that there was some truth to it, but I also realized they were missing what I think is the bigger picture. And that's what I wanted to discuss. Lately, I've noticed more and more dietitians referring to themselves as media dietitians. And to be transparent, I kind of love that title. I sometimes use that title myself because these days, between my new book, Louder Than Likes, my media training programs, this podcast, and the work I do every day, media has become the biggest part of my business. So when I heard someone say there's no such thing as a media dietitian, I just couldn't let it go. They're absolutely right that media dietitian is not an official credential. There's no exam you take, no certification, no governing body that decides you've earned the title. Nobody sends you an award saying, "Congratulations, you can now use the title of media dietitian." But then I found myself thinking, we do this all the time. Nobody takes a test to become a food blogger or to call themselves a content creator or a wellness influencer or even a nutrition communicator. Those are not credentials. They're simply ways of describing the work that people do. And to me, that's exactly what media dietitian is. What concerns me isn't whether the title is official or not. What concerns me is that someone might hear that comment and think, well, I guess I'm not there yet. That's not me. And that's what I really want to push back on. Somewhere along the way, I think we've convinced ourselves that we have to reach some invisible milestone or pinnacle before we're allowed to think of ourselves as someone who works in media. Maybe you think you need to be on the Today Show or have dozens of television appearances or thousands of followers before you can honestly say media is a big part of what you do. But I don't believe that. If you've been interviewed for a newspaper article, that's media. If you've been quoted in a magazine, that's media. If you've been a guest on a podcast or hosted an Instagram Live or created educational videos or written articles that help people understand nutrition, that's media too. You're communicating your expertise through media. That's the work. Isn't that what the title is describing? I can also tell you from personal experience that nobody ever gave me permission to do this work, and I certainly never gave myself that title. When I got my first interview, I didn't know if I'd ever get another one. I hadn't pitched anyone. There were no emails, no social media posts, none of the strategy I teach people to use today. I just did the interview and just hoped that they called again. And they did. And again, and again, and again. And then I started to write for publication. And the more I worked with media, the more I wanted to do the work it took to be in media, because that title, I never thought I needed it, let alone the thought of giving myself that name. I was too busy hoping for the next opportunity to think about what I should call myself. Did I deserve the title back then? I sure did. I just didn't know it yet. That's how confidence grew in me. Not from a certificate, not from a title that I decided to claim. It grew from saying yes, showing up, and doing it again and again and again. So maybe the real question isn't whether Media Dietitian is an official title. Maybe the better question is, does it honestly describe the work you do? If the answer is yes, then don't let someone else's definition make you question where you belong. Don't let anyone else intimidate you or squash your enthusiasm. If media is part of your professional life or where you hope your professional life is headed, keep building those skills, keep saying yes to opportunities, keep learning, keep showing up. And if you're looking for a roadmap to help you do that, that's exactly why I wrote my newest book, Louder Than Likes: How to Amplify Your Expertise and Make Media Work for You. I wrote it for dietitians and other health professionals who know their subject matter, but want to become stronger communicators. It's filled with the lessons I wish someone had shared with me years ago, along with practical strategies you could use whether you're getting ready for your first interview or your 50th. How can you find Louder Than Likes? It's on Amazon, and I hope it helps you see yourself the way I already do, as someone whose expertise deserves to be heard. And if today's episode resonated with you, I'd love for you to share it with another person, especially a dietitian who's been thinking about stepping into media, but isn't quite sure that they're ready. Thanks so much for spending these few minutes with me. And by the way, you're looking mighty media savvy today. So until next time, see you soon.